Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of Between Innings. My name is Caleb Davis, and this week we are joined by, once again, the commissioner, Mr. Scott Cole.
What's up, everybody? How's it going?
How was your week, sir?
It's been a good week. My Rockies have surprised even me, so it's been awesome week in baseball, and my Abs are setting historical records for a franchise. I cannot be any happier.
Look, if you were to sit here and tell me by this point, and wow, we are 10, 11 games into the year?
Yeah.
That the Rockies would have a better record than the Braves, you would have been able to take all my money.
Hey, man, that would have been good for me. I'd happily take money.
I am glad that we did not do that. But, hey, at one point this week, the Rockies were tied with the White Sox for the best record win percentage-wise in the majors. What is Chris Bryant? And we'll dive into the Rockies a little later. Has Chris Bryant unlocked something for this team? Does he know how to win? What is going on out there?
I mean, let's take a look at Chris Bryant's numbers in general. I mean, he's had 30 at-bats. He's had 11 hits in those at-bats with, scoring 6 runs, 2 RBIs, no home runs yet, but a 367 average with an
in Coors Field, those will come.
Yeah. With an on-base percentage of 394 and an OPS of 861, this dude is doing something pretty incredible for the Rockies. And I think as a veteran presence, regardless of the money that he got from the organization aside, has really solidified part of this. You got Charlie Blackmon back at the top of the lineup for the Rockies when Raimel Tapia was traded to get Gerchuk to come in. So Gerchuk's in center, Chris Bryant's out in left, Blackman's out in right field. So you have a solid outfield, so to speak. And, your infield is made, Iglesias at short, McMahon, Rogers, CJ Cron. It's a solid lineup, and they all got some power. CJ Cron is a godsend at first base for Rockies. I'll take it. He jacked one out of the park last night, which was fantastic.
He reminds me of when the Rockies had Mark Reynolds.
Yeah.
Mr. Cole, I'm going to put you on the spot here. Chris Bryant is the most talented Colorado Rocky since fill in the blank.
I wouldn't say he's fairly talented, but most talented Rocky since Nolan Arenado got traded and sent to the Cardinals.
Okay, fair. I expect that. I respect that. Mr. Cole, we had a little bit of history this week.
We did indeed.
Got intentionally walked with the bases loaded for only the 3rd time in Major League history. Barry Bonds in 1998 and Josh Hamilton in 2008. I kind of, posted this around, and a lot of people, I wouldn't have done that. I had one guy say to me, Corey Seager's not that talented, not talented enough to get walked with the bases loaded. What are your thoughts on that?
I beg to differ. Corey Seager is just doing something that is unheard of as of late. I mean, the guy's got some pretty good talent, and for him to get traded, to leave
the Dodgers.
To leave the Dodgers and go to Texas for the deal that he got was just amazing. Again, 303 average. He's not as hot as what Chris Bryant is at the plate, 10 hits and 33 at-bats, but he's still got 7 RBIs and 5 runs scored. His on-base percentage is 361, and his OPS is a 785. You put that around some of the talent that he's got down there in Texas with Marcus Semien and some of the other talent.
They had the reigning rookie of the year. They have the reigning rookie of the year in the outfield out there, and Garcia.
Well, here's the other thing. He's batting second in their lineup. You walked the second hitter in the lineup because the bases were loaded or were going to be loaded.
They were loaded.
Okay, so you walked Corey Seager, who's the number 2 hitter in the lineup, to get to the 3 hitter?
I think it was Semien. I think Semien is who's bats 3rd in that lineup.
And it backfired.
No harm, no foul. They didn't lose. The Angels still won the game.
Angels still won, but they gave up 2 runs in that inning, correct?
But that does sound right. I do think you are right. But no harm, no foul. They didn't lose the game. So
they lose that game. John Madden looks like an idiot.
It's Mitch Garver who hit 3rd last night, so that might actually.
So you walk Corey Seager, who's batting 300 plus as far as an average, to get to Garber, and I don't think Garber's hitting that is as hot as him. I'm looking it up right now.
No, but Mitch Garver is definitely probably a top 7 offensive catcher, though.
Oh, 100%. Mitch Garver is like one of the catchers I enjoy watching. He's got a 250 average right now, 1 home run, 3 RBIs.
Well, like I said, no harm, no foul. It didn't hurt anything. They didn't lose the game. But, just one of the weird things you can see in baseball.
It was weird. No doubt about it.
Mr. Cole, we are 10 games in, 11 games in for some teams. Give me some surprises you've seen this week or this young season.
One surprise for me, and we'll talk about them plenty here on going on, are the Oakland Athletics.
Oh my God, where did this come from?
I mean, this Oakland Athletics team, I don't know if anybody else is watching this team, but they are currently 5-4. They're fighting for first place in the AL West, chasing Houston down. And I believe right now, if I look at scores, Oakland won today 7-5 in Toronto on a two-run bomb from Pache, who it's his first home run of the season, but it's only his second home run of his career.
I remember his first home run, I think, was in the NLCS against the Dodgers, not last year, the year before last, if I remember correctly.
Here's the surprising number. If I ask you to estimate the Oakland Athletics active payroll, what would you say?
I'm going to say less than Max Scherzer and Francisco Lindor make alone
in a single year.
In a single year, absolutely.
Because Oakland,
I've actually seen this just stupid number.
Oakland Athletics payroll is $36.4 million on the season,
and I think there's
the season
4 players making more than that this year.
Oh, easily. Nolan Arenado himself is making $35 million, and $15 million of it's being paid by the Colorado Rockies this season.
Yeah, you dropped the ball on that one, Mr. Cole, didn't you? There.
I personally didn't drop the ball
okay.
on that one. I'm just
mine is going to be. We know that hitters always get off to a quicker start than pitchers, but 11 games in, there have been 30 different instances where a team scores more than 9 runs. So there has been a lot of offensive production this year, early in the season.
There's also a different baseball being used.
Yeah. We've heard – it seems like they change the baseball every year.
Yeah. This goes back to the shutdown of 2020. Not only did it affect, restaurants and gyms and movie theaters and all this, it affected – baseball and other sports as well. It affected our auto industry. It affected everything worldwide. So even though they had a surplus of storage of baseballs, when they went back and did production, they redesigned the baseball because they wanted a little more offense, I assume. I mean, the game of hockey.
That's why they went away. That's why they did away with the spider tack last year.
Yeah. I mean, and it is what it is. I love seeing these high-scoring games between two
Absolutely.
teams. I mean, I know the Rockies offer a taco special if they get more than 7 runs in a game.
Oh, hey, we like to eat, okay?
We like to eat.
Mr. Cole, one more surprise from you before we get too deep into this.
Another surprise for me. Oh, man, another surprise for me. I'd have to look at it. Give me just a second here.
Well, while you do that, I'm going to talk about my other surprise so far this early in the season. And we talked about pitching not getting out to that great of a start compared to hitters relatively. But if you look at the struggles the Milwaukee Brewers pitching staff has had, they have struggled this year. Corbin Burns and Brandon Woodruff don't look the same. They are bottom 10 in team ERA at 4.32 this year. As you have 6 teams. I'm gonna let you guess 6 teams that have a team ERA under 3. Mr. Cole, give me 6 of them.
Giants.
Yes.
I'm gonna go. Let's see. Giants are gonna be 1.
Yep.
White Sox.
Yes, 2.64. The Giants lead the league in team ERA at 2.34.
Who else?
The White Sox have a 2.64 ERA.
Mets.
2.62.
Cardinals.
No, sir. The Cardinals have a 3.3 ERA.
Oh, so close.
I bet you will get 5 of the 6, and I bet you all the money in your pocket you won't guess the team that's the other team that's in this top 6. Right now, you've got the Giants, the Mets, and the White Sox. You got 3 more teams.
Astros?
No, 3.03. They just missed it.
Oh, damn. What about the Cubs? Cubs?
No. Cubs are sitting at an abysmal 4.2.
What about my Rockies?
Your Rockies are sitting at a 3.18 in Colorado.
I'll take that. I'll take a 3.18 in the ERA here in Colorado.
All right, I'll give you a couple more guesses.
I got 3.
Because we got some good stuff we're getting into this week.
You know what? We're already talking. What about Oakland?
No, Oakland has a. Where did they go? 4.23 ERA. Last guess, and then I'll give you the last 3.
Last guess, and then hit. All right. Man, you're making me think here. No, the Rangers got beat up pretty bad in their opening series.
The Rangers are last with 5.87.
Yeah.
The Yankees at 2.3.
Okay.
2.37. The Dodgers at 2.51. Are you ready for this? The Baltimore Orioles at 2.98 ERA.
Wow.
Mr. Cole, what else has surprised you to start out this young season?
How about the hot start of the Cleveland Guardians?
You know, the announcement is supposed to be official come, I think, sometime this weekend about Jose Ramirez's extension. But granted, it was Kansas City, but you can only beat who's on your schedule.
Yeah.
And they had two games where they put up double-digit runs. We'll see if this is sustainable against better competition.
We'll see. They started out with a 4-2 record on the road. They're 0-2 at home so far, but they have a run differential of plus 18 already. And this is a team whose salary is $66 million.
Right.
So this is one of those teams that's clearly in a rebuild. They're a little ahead of teams like Oakland and Baltimore and whatnot, but they're in a rebuild. And for them to be sitting currently in the standings with a 4-4 record and to be challenging teams, they're a legit threat. They're playing in San Francisco right now. I'm not sure what the score is because I think the game
might have just went final. They were down 4-2. Let's see if
they lost 4-2. Yep, I see it.
So the game just went final.
So the game just went final, but they're 4-5 now. But I mean, for them to be sitting second place in their division.
But if we translate to this end of the year, if they're sitting at 81 and 81 is 500. So if they're sitting at 79 and 84, I would consider that a good season for them. Are they going to be able to continue this offensive output? It's going to be my question.
I think teams are going to figure them out. I think pitching is going to improve as the season goes along.
They locked up Emmanuel Clase over the offseason as well after the lockout ended. So they've got their back end of the bullpen guy for the next 4 years.
Yeah.
So you still got Shane Bieber in that rotation. I'm
not talking about Cleveland's rotation. I'm talking about other teams' rotations. They're going to figure out the hitters. They're going to watch videos. The pitching is going to get better.
Absolutely.
Across the league. We had a shortened spring training, and I know we keep harping on it, second week of the season and everything, but it's true. Pitching is going to improve. Mid-May into June, we might see a complete game shutout, possibly a no-hitter or perfect game.
Hey now, don't spoil anything. If you watch baseball, the heart of this show, you already know. Mr. Cole, I've got a stat for you. Does this impress you? The Nationals have scored 39 runs this year. Josh Bell has drove in or scored 18 of those runs. Are you impressed?
Am I impressed that one person has scored over half of a team's runs?
Or drove in over, yes.
Or drove in over half of their runs.
With a lineup of Juan Soto and Nelson Cruz.
Not really.
Okay.
I'm not really impressed.
Okay.
And here's why. They're 4-5, run differential of -12, and they're not they don't.
To be fair, they started out with the Mets and the
quality
Braves.
team right now.
To be fair, they started out with the Mets and the Braves.
I honestly don't care.
Heard that.
This is a team that has clearly gone into a rebuild. They weren't able to re-sign Max Scherzer. They weren't able to bring in anybody else except an aging 41-year-old Nelson Cruz to play designated hitter. You've got two young talents in Juan Soto and Josh Bell who got out of purgatory in Pittsburgh only to go back into purgatory in Washington.
We got right back into it. All right, Mr. Cole, I don't want you on your soapbox for long. Let's talk about we have a pitcher of the week and a player of the week. And for anybody that knows, I did not pick Clayton Kershaw for our pitcher of the week. We have a whole topic on him on his own, so we're going to get to that. My pitcher of the week is Logan Webb. He pitched on what's today? Thursday, I believe, against the Padres. 8 innings, 4 hits, 1 run, 7 strikeouts, 96 pitches. Mr. Cole, are you impressed at 96 pitches this early in the season?
Yes, 100%.
Absolutely.
I mean, 96 pitches over 8 innings. You're looking at roughly 12 pitches per inning.
Right.
I mean, that's impressive. Any pitching coach, any manager will take a pitcher who can give them 50, can get them a solid inning with 15 pitchers or less. Logan Webb delivered that and gave him 8 solid innings, giving up 1 earned run.
I intentionally added 96 pitches in there for a reason. We'll get to that later. Mr. Cole, who's our hitter of the week?
Our hitter of the week is none other than Vlad Guerrero Jr. and what he was able to do against the Yankees. If you watched this game, it was amazing. God.
We watched this basically together as a group chat.
Yeah. So his first home run is deep center field. The center fielder gets a glove on it, but it hits the cement barrier behind the padding, and originally it was called a double. But after review, it's like it cleared the wall, so it was a home run.
Right.
Prior to his second at bat of the game,
this was my favorite home run for 2 reasons. Mr. Cole, give what you're thinking, and then I'll tell you why it was my favorite home run.
Prior to his second at bat of the game, Vlad Guerrero is a first baseman, and even though they extended the bags, Guerrero still managed to get stepped on his hand because of a low throw. He was bleeding. It was like the second out of the inning. He goes into the dugout, was there for a quick 5 minutes. He's like, just bandage me up. I'm getting back out there. I'm not coming out of this game.
There was a tweet that came out, and I believe it was Hazel May who covers Toronto. And she was like, he went up to Montoya and said, I don't want to come out. Charlie Montoya's response is, I'm not taking you out.
Yeah. He's like, I'm not taking you out. I want you in there. And not only did he proceed to go up, I think he led off the inning.
Yeah, it sounds right.
Yeah, I think he led off the inning and blasted a moon blast out to left field into the second deck, and they never looked back. Guerrero went 4 for 4 in that game with 3 home runs, and he currently sits as the home run leader with 5 home runs on the season. He's batting a .324, 361 on base with an OPS of 1.155. And right now, he's doing this without his comfort blanket behind him, Teoscar Hernandez,
right,
who went on the 10-day IL effective April 14th, 2 days ago, with an oblique strain he originally missed a pitch and then he hit a ground ball, and you could really see him kind of labor as he was going to first. So he's doing this without Teoscar Hernandez behind him now. So,
well, before we get into our next topic and your big proclamation, my favorite part about that second home run, and he pulled his hands in. That was 96 to the belly. He pulled his hands in and pulled it, and there was a stat that came up. He was tied with Juan Soto for the highest batting average against high-velocity pitches, which I think they were like 95 or 96 and above. And I think the stupid, ridiculous number was like 380-something or 360-something.
To simply get the bat around on a 95, 96-mile-an-hour high-velocity fastball boggles my mind. To blast it 425-plus feet is even more impressive.
Mr. Cole, this is going to be your topic. I am not going to chime in on this because I know what you're going to say, and I want everybody to soak this in. Mr. Cole, will anybody specifically Vladimir Guerrero Jr. hit 60 home runs this year? And I am taking a step back.
All right, guys. We talked about this in our chat the other day, and the answer is yes. Vlad Guerrero will surpass 60 home runs, in my opinion. And I looked into the stats a little bit more. I did the math behind it. I honestly think if Guerrero, with his lineup in place, Teoscar Hernandez is out right now, but if he can maintain it, I think Vlad Guerrero Jr. could break the all-time single-season home run record of 73.
Wow. And just so you know, I have your words right here. Okay. It's right there in stone. We have it here. Mr. Cole, please explain your thinking just a little bit more.
All right, guys. The average home run, to be considered a contender for the home run record and stuff like that in today's day and age, you have to hit every 10 games a minimum of 4.5 home runs. I did the math. 4.5 home runs will get you over 73, about 76 or 77 home runs.
Are you talking about 4.5 games, correct?
4.5 home runs every 10 games.
Oh, every 10 days. Okay.
We are 9 games in, and Guerrero already has 5.
Okay.
So if he can maintain that pace, and honestly, with a little bit of a lineup tweaking, and you move Guerrero back a spot into that 3-4-5, or move somebody up behind him who was batting cleanup, it's going to happen. He stays that consistently. People are going to have to throw to Guerrero, and he's going to get some knocks over the fence. I
kind of like where some of these teams are moving, where they move their best hitter into the 2-hole.
Yeah.
That's kind of like with the Braves lineup. I like Matt Olson in the 2-hole because then you still got guys behind them where they almost have to pitch to him.
I mean, and it's amazing. Teoscar Hernandez is a solid hitter in that Toronto's lineup, and that's why he was the number 3 hitter for them. So with him out right now, there's some holes, so you're going to move things around, and Montoya's going to figure that out, and he's still going to do it. Guerrero blasted a home run yesterday without Teoscar Hernandez in the lineup to get to his 5 in 9 games. So I don't see any, unless a massive injury happens or Toronto just falls off the face of the earth.
Right.
I think there's a solid shot that Guerrero is going to either match or beat the home run record, and it's possible. We talked about 30 games with already not over 9 runs per game for a team or something like that.
Yeah.
These are high offensive scoring teams, and Toronto is a fun team to watch if you haven't watched any of their games. And Guerrero is a very unselfish hitter. He's an unselfish player on that team. He goes out, he does his job, he moves on. It goes over the fence, so be it.
We talked about it last week. You talk about Toronto being a fun lineup. Texas went out 6-0, and Toronto ended up winning that game. So
7-0.
7-0. Excuse me, Mr. Cole. I want to touch on this very, very quickly. Outside of Vegas and Montreal, if the MLB decides to expand, where would you like to see a team?
I have 2 places that I would love to see a team that I think could really, really welcome a team in. One place is Vancouver.
Okay.
You already have,
I do think there is going to be a team in Canada. I don't know exactly where, but I do think there will be another team in Canada.
I think Vancouver's the perfect spot for a team. I know in the surrounding areas around Vancouver did deal with some heavy floods and stuff earlier on or late last year, and they're still in some cleanup and whatnot. But I think Vancouver would be a perfect spot. They're looking at expanding NBA markets and stuff too. So that Canucks do great up there as far as the NHL goes. It'd just be interesting to see a market expand up there, even in the NFL as well. But a market I think that could really do well and does well in the NFL. They just got a soccer team. They do well in hockey and everything, and in football right now is Nashville, Tennessee.
I was listening to some people talk about the expansion, and I like the idea of Nashville, but I wonder if that's considered like Braves territory, where they'd have to get the Braves permission to put a team there. Does that make sense? Because like when we talk about San Diego and Oakland, or San Francisco and Oakland, they claim territories. Is that their TV market?
Let me ask you this: did Stan Kroenke ask permission before he moved St. Louis Rams out to LA?
I assume not. That's why there's a lawsuit.
Oh,
that is an owner moving a team, not a league putting a team there.
But it's the city of Nashville. When the Nashville Predators came in, embraced that team completely. Absolutely. Tennessee Titans, when they came in, they were embraced completely when they moved from Houston. Nashville is a city that wants to embrace sports. Kentucky and Tennessee, Kentucky has no professional teams.
Right.
That's where they build the Louisville Slugger. That's where, college teams play. It's where minor league baseball is.
Absolutely.
But you don't have a professional team. You have a market in Tennessee and Kentucky, maybe into the Virginias a little bit, that could really get around a more local team. Yes, you have WGN that advertises the Cubs. Southwest Kentucky is owned by the St. Louis Cardinals market. Nashville falls into the Atlanta category, but that's because we were forced to watch those teams. If you give Nashville their own team, their own Major League Baseball team, I guarantee you that city will rally around that team.
You talk about a city that has 3 of the 4 major teams already. I'm going to talk about Charlotte, like Charlotte, North Carolina. They have the Hurricanes are not far from there. The Panthers are there. The Hornets are there. Also, Austin, San Antonio. I don't think they'd ever put a third team in Texas. But I feel like the Austin or San Antonio area would benefit from another baseball team over there.
I would take Raleigh or somewhere in the Carolinas over Texas any day for another.
Personally, I would love to see. There's something being built in Vegas with no point for it, so I think there's a team in Vegas. But I also would love to see the Expos back in Montreal, which we talked about. That's just a nostalgia thing for me. Mr.
The
Cole.
Death Star is being built in Vegas, and the Oakland Athletics are relocating.
Yes. Hashtag get the A's a stadium. Yes.
Let's do it.
Let's talk about what we're really here for. I'm going to read this verbatim, okay? Clayton Kershaw was pulled from a perfect game against the Twins on Wednesday. 7 innings, 13 strikeouts. His response, blame him for not picking up the ball for 3 months. First of all, you damn knew you picked the ball up over the summer. Or, over the winter. All right, here's the kicker to me. He is the second pitcher to be pulled from a perfect game after 7 innings. The other pitcher was Rich Hill, who was also a Dodger, whose manager was also Dave Roberts in 2016. Jeff Passan tweeted, over 220,000 games in MLB history and only 23 perfect games. The last perfect game was King Felix against Tampa Bay in August of 2012. Mr. Cole, tell me why Clayton Kershaw is covering up for his manager. What is your opinion?
Kershaw wants a championship.
But they don't – I understand that. But they don't rely on him as heavily as they did even 3 years ago.
I agree. I don't know why he's covering for his manager, honestly. Like, Clayton Kershaw, this is a guy I've grown up watching, and I sit there and I look at him
forcefully,
like,
I might add.
This is a competitive guy. This is the Tom Brady of Major League Baseball.
How many times in the playoffs have we seen him try to save a game?
Right? And how many times have you heard, fuck, or whatever right. comes out because he missed a spot, he did something else, and 80 pitches through 7 innings?
7 innings, 80 pitches. This is why I brought up Logan Webb's pitch count.
Why does Dave Roberts at this point right here, Kershaw being a competitive guy, the history of baseball. Dave Roberts, you've been around this sport for a long time. Put some pitchers in your bullpen to warm up. Have pitchers ready to go as soon as he gives up the hit, the walk, whatever it is.
Whatever loses the perfect game. Whatever it be. Because at that point, it's just another no-hitter.
And weren't you up 5+ runs that game?
I think they were already up 7-0 at that point.
I said 5+.
Yes. To answer your question.
It wasn't like it was a 1-0 game.
Exactly.
A 1-0 game, I can justify pulling Clayton Kershaw, first start of the season, 80 pitches through 7 innings with a perfect game.
And we're up 3-0 when he got pulled in the 7th inning.
I'm sorry. I'm leaving him in there.
Absolutely. 80 pitches. It's not like he's sitting at 100 pitches. This is why I brought up Logan Webb's pitch count of 96. I'm with you. The walk, the air, the hit, let him go. But until then, 13 strikeouts. This man was dealing.
If it was the 5th or 6th inning with 80 pitches, I might be a little more worried. But you're in the 7th inning, 80 pitches. I just talked about it. The average being 15 or less pitches per inning.
There is a realistic chance he could have got out with that with 100 or 105 pitches.
Yeah.
Very easily could have been 105 pitch outing. Sure, Kershaw, great decision, putting the team first. Don't say blame me because I picked the ball up all winter.
You picked the ball up.
You and I both know you were pitching every day.
I'm sorry. Kershaw left the end of last season, did not pitch in the playoffs at all because of an injury to his forearm.
I'm not buying it. I'm not buying
Dodgers
it.
got out of the wild card round, beat San Francisco, advanced to the championship series, lost to the Braves. Braves went on to the World Series, and Kershaw was undergoing surgery and physical therapy and all this stuff. You're telling me you didn't pick up a baseball between the end of September and the beginning of April?
So you're telling me you didn't pick a baseball up till the lockout was over?
That's
what I just heard.
I guarantee you he did physical therapy. He probably didn't pick up a baseball until after Christmas and start doing general motions and stuff with it and just general light pitch and catch.
But you can't tell me you have not picked up a ball since September. I don't believe it. Not at all. Not at all. All right. Well, now I'm glad that we have the same opinion on it, because at first, when we initially discussed it, I thought you were going the other way and I was going to have to chew your head off.
No, 23 perfect games in history. You know what? And I will tell you this. Guerrero had a chance at history too on that night where he hit 3 home runs. There have only been 18 games where a hitter has had 4 home runs in a single game.
Right. I just, and whether you like the Dodgers or not, Clayton Kershaw, he deserves it if he would have got it.
Oh, 100%.
He has been he's been the best pitcher for multiple years. He's on that. You've never heard steroids. You've never heard, he was never suspected with any of that. So if he would have been able to finish that, you would have rooted for a guy like that.
You're talking about something that can easily frame somebody's Hall of Fame resume.
He is already a Hall of Famer.
I'm not saying he's not a Hall of Famer. I'm simply saying,
but that might have put him as a first ballot Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
Mr. Cole, I just did the math. Okay. Are you ready for this?
I'm
23 perfect games in MLB history, 220,000 games in MLB history, 0.000104555% of the games have ever been a perfect game. Anyways, I digress. Mr. Cole, we put some power rankings together this week.
We did.
I have some teams that did not make it in our power rankings: Tampa Bay, Houston, Cleveland, and Milwaukee. Pick one and tell me why they did not make it.
I will let you take the Rays because I know that's where you want to go.
Thank you.
I'm going to leave that one for you. The Cleveland Guardians. I'll let you go, but my team's going to be the Cleveland Guardians, and I'll get to that after you talk about the Rays.
My problem with the Rays is on your schedule, you opened with Baltimore and you opened with Oakland. You swept Baltimore. Good. Then at home, you lost 3 or 4 to Oakland. And then you lost, I think they've lost the first 2 of the series against the White Sox. So as talented as that team is, and I know they're going to figure it out, they are not in our top 10 this week.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with the Cleveland Guardians. And even though they are a competitive team with a $66 million active salary right now, they just aren't ready for our top 10. But if they keep playing the way they're playing, I think they'll be there shortly.
I don't feel like they've played enough quality opponents to be. They haven't. They started out with Kansas City.
They took 2 of 4 against Kansas City on the road. They went to the Reds. They swept a 2-game series against the Reds, interleague game right there. And then so far they've lost their first 2 games in a 3-game set against the Giants. Hopefully they take the afternoon game tomorrow, and then they start getting into some competitive games. A 4-game series starting on the 18th through the 21st against the Chicago White Sox in their own division, and then for 3 on the road at New York going into next Sunday. So competitive teams coming up. They are 4 and 5 right now. So if they can get some quality wins against some quality opponents, we could push them up there into the top 10 type area.
Mr. Cole, I'm going to let you take our first team, which is at number 10, the New York Yankees.
All right. Well, the Yankees themselves have had a pretty competitive season so far. They've had some quality opponents. I gotta find my stuff that I sent all you guys here.
I've got it right here. Let's see.
I got it too. I
You
just
got
gotta
it?
pull it up.
Beautiful.
I gotta
It
scroll back up to the
started
messages.
out with Boston and Toronto.
Yeah.
So they're
So
in the middle of a 3-game series with Baltimore.
So Yankees opening day, they open it up against division rival Boston. They took 2 of 3 in that one to open up the season, which is fantastic to start your season against a division opponent. My biggest issue, and the reason why the Yankees are only number 10, is because their ace, Garrett Cole, has given up 3 earned runs in his first 2 starts. Currently has an ERA of 5.59, and those earned runs he gave up were bombs to some opponents right there. Most notably, Garrett Cole was the starter in the game in which Vlad Jr. got his 3 home runs, and I believe Garrett Cole gave up 2 of those.
Yes, he gave up 2 of 3 home runs.
Yankees have a lot to leave desired, but they are kind of battling up. They split their second series with those Toronto Blue Jays. They are currently playing the Baltimore Orioles, which should help them rebuild some of that confidence going into this upcoming week.
Well, you would think, but Baltimore won on a walk-off walk last night.
And they're up 2-0 today.
Yeah, they're up 2-0 now. All right, Mr. Cole, I will take our second team. Coming in at
Actually, update, Yankees are up 4-2. They have resumed that game. It's now on the bottom of the fifth.
Let's see if they can hang on because they were up 2-0 last night, I believe. All right, number 9 for us is going to be the San Francisco Giants. They start out with Miami when they took 2 or 3 from Miami. They went to San Diego and put it on San Diego at 13-2 in one of those games. They're in the midst of a weird, what looks like, what is that, like 12 or 13 game road trip. Cleveland, the Mets, Washington, a random 1-game series in Milwaukee.
Yeah.
They took 2 and 3. They surprised us all with 107 wins. As we talked about earlier, they have the best team ERA in MLB right now. It's the typical Giants. When the Giants were good in the early 2000s, the early 2010s, it was the pitching. So right now it looks like they're going to outpitch everybody and scrap together an offense.
Hey, if you can do it, you can do it. I mean, this is a team that was 107 wins last year. They were the best team in baseball and surprised a lot of people considering everybody thought they were in a rebuild, but they have been working on their farm system for a long time, and that's where most of their pitchers have come from, both in their starting rotation and their bullpen. So whatever the GM, whatever the ownership's doing in San Francisco, they look back on those championship titles and they're like, we want to go back.
Well, you got to realize they did it last year with Kevin Gausman, who nobody thought he was going to be it. Anthony DeSclafani, Alex Wood. This offseason they picked up. They lost Kevin Gausman, who went to Toronto, but they picked up Carlos Rodon from the White Sox. So they are just picking. They're just trying to pitch.
And it's going to work for them. I fully believe this San Francisco Giants team is going to get into our top 5, even that top spot by end of the season.
I would not be surprised. Even Giants fans last year didn't see 107 wins coming.
No.
Mr. Cole, at number 8, we have the Chicago Cubs. What can you tell us about our little Cubbies?
This Cubs team has been pretty impressive in my book. I mean, they were sitting 4-2 top of the AL Central, tied with the Cleveland Guardians early on. They've since –
this is the Cubs,
different team. Sorry, 4-3 right now. Tied half a game behind St. Louis. This was
currently trailing your Rockies. They're currently trailing your Rockies 8-1 in the top of the 6th.
That's fantastic news for me.
For a different reason, that's fantastic.
Right. But these Cubs are going to be a competitive team. I mean, their payroll is $123.3 million on their active payroll, so it shows they're a little excited to play. This was a team that nobody saw coming in to grab Seiya Suzuki, the Japanese star that came over. Teams like the Dodgers and the Giants were the ones that were seen as front runners. I think even the Braves were in there at some point in time in the bidding war, but Cubs won out on that. And took control of that. So number 8, the Cubs, with some more quality wins, they could bump up, but they're just a surprise considering I think a lot of us thought this was going to be St. Louis and Milwaukee all season long, but Milwaukee's been struggling a lot.
One thing that I think surprised me about the Cubs is unlike when Theo Epstein took over, what was it, in 2011 or 2012, where they did a full teardown, they're not quite tearing it all the way down.
So they traded away a ton of their of what made them the Cubs. Chris
They
Bryant,
did
you
the
know,
opposite of what the
Rizzo.
Rockies did, and they traded away Chris Bryant. They traded away Anthony Rizzo. Depending on what happens, Contreras will probably be traded at some point this year.
Mm-hmm.
Unlike,
But they got quality picks for those players.
Absolutely.
They've turned them into valuable assets that could help them in a quality rebuild.
All right. Number 7, and we kind of touched on this earlier, and same thing I thought with Giants fans. If you're an Oakland A's fan and you saw this coming, you are lying. Oakland right now, like we talked about, 3 or 4 from Tampa. They won against Toronto. They got Baltimore and Texas this week coming up. They lost the opening series to Philadelphia because they couldn't pitch. And at home in Oakland, you can pitch.
Yeah.
So I'll be interested to see how long Oakland stays relevant. They have Baltimore, Texas, then their schedule toughens up a little bit. They go to the Giants, Cleveland comes in, and Tampa Bay comes in. So these next 2 weeks will really see how these pesky little A's are going to stack up.
This team has been impressive so far in the early season. Like you said, losing that opening series against Philadelphia, but taking 3 of 4 in Tampa Bay against a team that is supposed to compete for the AL East is impressive in my book. And then today, they lost 1-4 the other day, but today they beat Toronto 7-5 in an offensive game. So this is a team that's worth watching. And like I said, with a payroll of $36.4 million, this is going to be a scrappy team. And I see them causing some havoc late in the season with some teams trying to get into those wild card spots.
Absolutely, because you've got to play the teams in your division, Texas, the Angels,
Seattle,
the Mariners, and Houston.
Yep.
So, all right, at 6, we have the other team that Mr. Cole was trying to tell us about. The Chicago White Sox.
These Chicago White Sox, the other team I was talking about, they're sitting 6-2, 2 games ahead of Cleveland. This team is right where they're supposed to be. And that's why they're only 6th in our power rankings, is because they're sitting right where everybody expected them to be, top of their division. Quality pitching, quality hitting, everything's going their way. I even was a little upset earlier this week. I think it was Wednesday night's game, was it, Caleb? It was Wednesday or Thursday, I think.
Thursday when they lost 5-1.
No, it was the game where it was raining.
Oh yeah, that was Wednesday.
Wednesday night's game.
Yeah,
it was the top. It was the top of one of the innings, and it was absolutely pouring against Seattle. And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, this game needs to be delayed. I think it was like the top of the second. It was just pouring rain. There were puddles on the infield. I'm like, they need to delay this game, and it is the bottom of the second, and Chicago ended up taking a 4-1 lead in that game after that, and they never gave up that lead. Seattle would battle back, but it wasn't enough. So,
and you and
I was a little upset during the game.
We were all talking about it, and you and I both at the same time sent the same YouTube clip to each other, which was Lucas Sims. In that Reds game where he kept throwing the ball.
Hey, can I get a new ball? No, that one's too wet. I want another one. This one, that's too wet too.
He kept throwing the ball into the dugout until they would call the game for a rain delay. So I'm looking at their schedule, and they don't really hit a tough stretch until the end of May. Boston comes in. The Cubs come in. Then they go to Toronto. They go down to Tampa. Then the Dodgers come in.
Yeah, they could really pad their standings.
Until then, you got Tampa, Cleveland, Minnesota, Kansas City, the Angels. The Cubs come in. Boston, Cleveland, Yankees. A 5-game series with Kansas City, the Yankees. So even starting out the series before that at the Yankees, I mean, you could see them sweeping Kansas City in 5 games. Mm-hmm. They've got the pitching. They've got Kansas City for 3 games. Minnesota. You can definitely see their pitching getting them out to an early 6 or 7-game lead before the end of May.
Not only that, I mean, over these first 2 months, like you said, they have a favorable schedule. Their pitching staff could probably set themselves up as one of the best pitching staffs in the Major League Baseball going 2 months in. And if you have that amount of confidence and you have a 7-8 game cushion between you and second place in your division, that gives your pitchers even more confidence going into June and July, all the way up to the All-Star break. And this team could really be heavy on the buying side of the trade deadline once we get to that point.
The question is, I don't know what they need right now. So if you're going to be buyers right now, of course the rosters are going to look different at the end of July. But I don't really see a big hole. Their bullpen's been a little shaky, but Liam Hendricks has shown that he will calm down and be that guy.
Oh, yeah. And like I said, they may not be looking for anything big. It might be simple as somebody who makes more contact with the ball or a speedy bench guy. And that could be somebody they pull from their farm system.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But White Sox are going to be a dangerous team, especially with the early favorable matchups they have over the first 2 months.
Before you and I made peace with this next team, there is no way you were going to talk me out of this. I had this team sitting behind a different team because games have to matter.
Games have to matter, but seeing one team fail year after year
is
and
the Los Angeles
being a fan of that team.
We know that come July, these Dodgers are going to have it figured out. Okay. I'm looking at their schedule. They have a tough week. Atlanta comes in, then they go to San Diego over the weekend. Mr. Cole, what are you going to tell us about these Dodgers?
These Dodgers are going to have some interesting stuff going on. I mean, initially in our power rankings, and we'll get to that with the next group too, I had them at number 4. An early
behind the team that we're going to get to.
An early setback. They lost the opening series to the Rockies at Coors Field. But Kershaw really, with his 80 pitches, 7 innings, perfect game thing, really kind of, showed I'm the veteran presence. I'm not necessarily your number 1, but I'm going to come in. I'm going to give you quality wins. I'm going to make you competitive. And they're doing this all without Dustin May, who's still out with his, recovering from his injury, won't be back for some time. And Freddie Freeman.
The Dodgers lead the league in home runs right now.
Yeah. Freddie Freeman has been accepted by the entire LA organization, their fans, everybody. He got a massive standing ovation on a double last night. This team is going to be dangerous. They're going to compete for the division title once again. The only thing standing in their way, maybe a pesky Rockies team, and in my opinion, the San Francisco Giants.
How hard is it for you to actually believe that your team might be competitive? Because we are now at your team, at number 4. Because games matter this early in the season, the Colorado Rockies are number 4. And if your name is not Kyle Freeland, this is for you. If your name is Kyle Freeland, please go figure yours out.
If your name is Kyle Freeland, I'm looking at you, I'm going, what the hell's the issue?
The Colorado Rockies, they surprised everybody by taking 2 or 3 from the Dodgers. They went to Texas and swept Texas. They split the first 2 with the Cubs. They're currently up 8-1 still. Kyle Freeland is the only one giving them hiccups right now. And we talk about, they have a low team ERA. It's like, what is happening right now?
I don't know if it's something in the water, something in the air, something not in the air called oxygen. I don't know what's going on in Colorado right now, but the Rockies are absolutely entertaining to watch. I have been adamant the last season and this season. I will not go to a game because I do not like Dick Monfort. I do not like the direction he has this organization going in. And until I see competitive championship type baseball, I will not spend money at Coors Field, and I may have to eat my friggin' words.
You know what? I don't know if this is championship level because we're 10, 11 games in, but this sure as hell is fun to watch.
It is fun to watch.
Because I'm over here on the East Coast, and we're sitting here talking about Rockies games, and I look at the clock, it's 1 o'clock in the morning.
Right? I mean, this team is just incredible to watch. Like you said, they took 2 of 3 from the Dodgers. They went into Texas and took a 2-game series there, winning both games.
Without controversy.
One of them being controversial, but if you look at the rules,
look, I'm not saying they're wrong. I'm just pointing out there was a bit of controversy. That's all I got.
There was. And now you brought in the Cubs, who are competitive. They're in our top 10 power rankings at number 8. To split the first 2 games, I was kind of concerned losing 5-2 in the opening game because the Cubs, their fans travel well. And they travel well to Colorado. Or relocate, whatever you want to call it. But for the Cubs to be up to take the game yesterday, 6-5. Daniel Bard comes in, gets a save. He's going to get a day off today. He's already got 3 saves on the season, which is phenomenal for Daniel Bard. If you guys don't know who Daniel Bard is, look this dude up.
His story
is amazing. Won NL Player of the Year in 2019. Was just fantastic story. Has battled for years. I love seeing what he's doing. And Bud Black has full faith in him to be the closer on this team after his history. So I'll take it.
Well, the next team we had ranked a little higher, but due to some recent struggles, they dropped a little bit. Number 3 is the San Diego Padres. Before we get too deep into this, I'm going to give you 4 or 5 names. You tell me what they have in common. Luke Voigt, Trent Grisham, Will Myers, Manny Machado, Eric Hosmer.
All play for the
Absolutely. You are correct. They do all play for the Padres. The Padres are 10 games in. All 5 of those have 9 or more strikeouts.
Yeah, I was about to say my second thing is their average is all below 250.
I mean, that might have been a thing too. I was just looking at how often they strike out.
Yeah. So here's the Dodgers are a couple of years ago they were like, we're going to spend money. We want to be competitive. We want to beat the Dodgers.
And last year they fell apart.
They still have an active payroll of $171.8 million. And this year is going to be a prove it or sell.
And they even went and got Bob Melvin from the A's.
Yep.
So they even went and changed managers to do this.
Yep. I mean, I originally had the Padres ranked number 2 because they had back-to-back starts in which their starters went 6 innings and then 7 innings consecutively with no-nos in the opening round of their rotation.
Well, granted, it's the only team in our top 10 not in the NL West. That's the Arizona Diamondbacks. But continue.
True. The Diamondbacks are in a store,
We have to do a separate 10 for that, but continue.
Here's the ML mansion over here. There's the she shed in the back where we keep the Arizona Diamondbacks.
Right. Nobody gets to see them.
The Padres, early success. Now they're starting to run into some bumps and bruises.
I don't know what happened there, guys. We might have had some technical difficulties.
Sorry.
Mr. Callback, he got so excited he left the chat.
Hit the wrong button, actually. I actually hit the refresh button, so it reset me. But the Padres have lost their last 2 games against your Braves. So something to be said. Braves are World Series champions, go looking to defend their title and everything. But the Padres can't get it together against a competitive Braves team. I don't know what they're going to do with the Dodgers or the Giants.
Is the Braves bullpen's nasty, but looking at the Padres schedule, they do have a chance to get it together. They have the early series against Cincinnati this week. They play the Dodgers over the weekend, which we'll talk more about that later. Then they go to Cincinnati and they go to Pittsburgh. So if you look at that 3, 6, 9, 12 games, if they go 9-3, and that's winning games against the Dodgers, they very easily have a chance to move up here.
100%. They could. They just need to bounce back. We'll see what happens.
This is, baseball's going to baseball. That's what they always say.
Baseball.
Number two, I think, is mine and yours sentimental American League team. It is right now America's favorite team, even though they reside in Canada, the Toronto Blue Jays. Mr. Cole, you touched on Vladimir Guerrero Jr. earlier. What would you like to add to this about Toronto Blue Jays?
This team is simply entertaining to watch from, I don't care what you want to call it. They're 5-4 right now. Yes, they lost to Oakland today. Yes, it was a back and forth game up until the very end. They're going to be fun to watch. They're going to tear the cover off the ball every chance they get. This team is loaded from front end to back. I mean, the fact that you have Kevin Biggio on your roster and he's not your everyday starter right now for your team says a lot. He's not swinging the bat that well, but eventually he's going to get his opportunity to prove himself to Montoyo, and he's going to get back into this lineup. Bo Bichette, great. Vlad Guerrero, great. So your superstars that you want to hit are doing well. Gurriel Lourdes Gurriel Jr. doing fantastic for you since joining your organization. The issue with this team right now is their pitching staff. Ryu has some forearm tightness. They're dealing with some other pitching issues. But if they can get their starting pitching figured out and stop giving up 4 or 5 runs where they have to hit 7, 8 runs, this is going to be a fun team to watch. Mr.
Cole, I'm going to give you the Blue Jays schedule basically through the first weekend of June. So we're about to see what the Blue Jays are made of. At Boston, at Houston. Boston, Houston, and the Yankees come in. That gets us to the 1st of May. Cleveland, Yankees, Tampa Bay, all on the road. Seattle comes in. Cincinnati comes in. Then they go to St. Louis. They go to the Angels. And then the White Sox come in. So we are about to see what this young Toronto Blue Jays team is made of.
If this team can get into June,
sitting at
how many games is that we're looking at real quick?
3, 6, 10, 13, 16, 20, 22, 25, 28, 31, 33, 37, 40. 40 game stretch.
40 games. 40 games. If this Toronto Blue Jays team can manage to win, I'll call it right now. I will say 25 of those 40 games, if they can go 25-15 for a 30-19 record going into June, they're going to be just fine.
Okay. I like it. Going out on a limb here. Well, I think everybody can figure out. I think this team has the best record in the major leagues right now. Might I add, they're doing this all without the best pitcher, not named Max Scherzer. It's the New York Mets. And the Jacob deGrom led New York Mets. They had a hiccup today. They lost to Arizona. The bullpen gave that one up. Carrasco had a great start. What do you want to say about the New York Mets?
I mean, can they keep it up? You know, you're doing, like you said, Jacob deGrom's not available to you. I don't know. I'm trying to pull up some stats here on these Mets. They've been fun to watch. They're turning the cover off the ball. Francisco Lindor, when he took that hit to the head, I thought he was going to be out for a while.
There has been a lot of bad blood in some series lately. That's all I
mean. This team already has, let's see, 3, 5, 7, 9, 10, 11 home runs on the season. You know, I'd say easily over 40 RBIs. They're drawing a ton of walks. Francisco Lindor has been walked 8 times. Eduardo Escobar has been walked 8 times. Brandon Nimmo 4 times. Mark Canha 4 times. But, you know, at the same time, there are some strikeout numbers. Alonso, 9 strikeouts. Come on, buddy. You got to be better than that. You're a home run guy. You know, maybe, and that's the thing. Like, maybe they want, if I'm the Mets, I'm looking at Pete Alonso, I'm like, I know you can tear the cover off the ball, bro.
Right. I feel like
I just want a single to right center field. That's all I want.
I feel like he's been a notorious slow starter as well. I'm looking at their schedule. And their schedule's not very friendly either. 4 in San Francisco. And this is through basically the middle of June. You got San Francisco comes in for 4 games to start the week this week. Next week, and then they go to St. Louis. Philadelphia comes in. 4 games with Atlanta and New York. 4 games in Philadelphia. Seattle comes in. St. Louis comes in. They go to Colorado. They go to San Francisco. Then Philly comes in again. Then you go to the Dodgers and the Padres and even the Angels on a West Coast road trip.
Yeah.
So this is another chunk of theirs. This is another team with a chunk of the schedule where you're going to learn very quickly what this team is. I don't know if there's a timetable for Jacob deGrom to come back.
I don't think there's a timetable for him yet either. But in this league, in the NL East, there's only one team that I personally think they really need to pay attention to, and that's the Atlanta Braves.
Is that my Atlanta Braves?
Yeah.
Because this bullpen is nasty, but go ahead, continue. Yeah.
Philadelphia Phillies, I
don't think they're going to play enough defense.
Yeah, exactly. The Philadelphia Phillies, but they have Bryce Harper, but they have this person. I'm like, good for you. You need to play defense. It's not
you're
just
right. You
all
have
about the
these
offense.
hitters, but outside of an Aaron Nola, who has kind of struggled the last year and a half,
What's your pitching
outside of
staff?
Zach Wheeler, you don't have a consistent starter.
Yeah.
So
I think the Phillies will flame out. I think this is a two-man race in the NL East between the Mets and the Braves. Whoever wins the series between those two teams is probably going to win the division. And the Mets, if they can manage their rotation without DeGrom and get DeGrom healthy to come back and stay in first place and not have to rush him back, they're going to be just fine.
Mr. Cole, I didn't put this in our notes. Who is not in our top 10 this week that you think is going to be in our top 10 next week?
Cleveland Guardians.
I am going to go with a homer pick and say it's the Braves, just because I feel like they're going to end this series against San Diego really well.
I will say this. I will say it is possible for both your team, the Braves, and the Cleveland Guardians to take over two of our top 10 spots.
I agree, because then they have the Dodgers for 3 games, and then Miami comes in next weekend. So it's very possible that they – also, if they win tomorrow, they will have hit above 500 way earlier than they ever hit above 500 last year, which was the middle of August.
So with that in mind, us coming to an agreement that two new top 10 teams, who's one of your picks to be demoted?
I wasn't ready for that. Just because I'm not sure what the A's are going to do. We're not sure how good the A's actually are. I definitely feel like that's a team that could fall out. And I've said this for a while now, I'm not sure what kind of pitching the Yankees have behind Garrett Cole. Severino came back and pitched 5 innings this week. How consistent is he going to be? So if you put me on the spot right now, it's going to be the Yankees and the A's.
Okay. For me, it's actually going to be the Chicago Cubs and the New York Yankees.
Okay, so we at least agree on the Yankees.
Yep.
They can't pitch and they never stay healthy.
Nope.
All right, Mr. Cole.
I love me some DJ LeMahieu because he's a former Rockies and a great hitter. But, the Yankees are just not going to do it for me.
Mr. Cole, give me your early week series to watch.
I am going to take you on a trip because I'm going to go with the marquee matchup of two powerhouse, top of the standings teams, and then I'm going to pick a matchup where it
wasn't even on my radar. Let's just say
not even on your radar.
When I sent out a list of games to watch this week, I did not have this game circled, so my apologies ahead of time to this other matchup that he's going to talk about.
You have a battle of some potential top finishing teams on the year. San Francisco Giants travel to New York to take on the New York Mets, who are number one. That's going to be a fantastic series to watch. You have the team who was the best of baseball last year taking on what our personal best of baseball currently this season. So that's going to be a great matchup to watch right there. As far as the other team to watch, you just mentioned that Oakland Athletics, and they might fall off our top 10 this upcoming week. I'm going to say no, because they open up this weekend with a series with Baltimore Orioles visiting them. So this is a battle of poor teams, $35.7 million payroll versus a $36.4 million payroll. It's going to be so entertaining to watch. It's not even funny.
I love it. All right, Mr. Cole, my early week series is going to be I know it seems like a homer. I apologize. My Atlanta Braves stay on the West Coast and face the Freddie Freeman-led Los Angeles Dodgers. I was watching the game this afternoon, and they said, hey, if in January I asked you, what are the chances? I'd have told you Kenley Jansen's going to save out a game for the Braves against Freddie Freeman for the Dodgers. How would you have took that? So that's a very real possibility.
Yeah. I didn't when the news finally broke that Freddie Freeman was basically like, screw you, Atlanta, I'm out of here. That was what dominated free agency news. Where's Freeman going to go?
Absolutely.
And for him to end up in LA and, you get this early matchup between these two teams, somebody sitting up in the ranks of MLB was like, yeah, we're going to put these two teams together as often as we possibly can.
Well, here's the thing. They both play each other in the month of April, maybe, if I'm looking and I'm seeing. to get the West Coast. I'm looking right now to get the West Coast swing out. No, I lied. The Dodgers come in at the end of June.
Okay,
it's the Padres. They're out in San Diego, and the Padres come back like the
the Braves do a huge road trip out here. They take on the Dodgers, Padres, and Rockies, right?
No, because they're going back home now. They go.
No, I was saying like
they do it
on
their next West Coast road trip. No, I lied. On their West Coast road trip at the beginning of June, they go to Arizona, then Colorado.
Okay.
Yeah. And then they go to San Francisco. Then they have a West Coast road trip in September where they have Oakland, Seattle, and San Francisco.
Gotcha.
So, Mr. Cole, what was your second game to watch early in the week?
Already did that.
Your second one.
Already
did. My apologies. My second one. Wait, I screwed this all up, didn't I? It's fine. It's fine. I had Toronto and Boston. And early season, we're going to see how Toronto can rebound. See if they can build some momentum heading into some of these rough patches. Mr. Cole, your weekend game includes your team. Please tell us.
All right. So my weekend game, and I know a lot of people aren't going to watch this because it's the Rockies versus Detroit Tigers. Rockies hit the road for their second road series of the season. First one was Texas, taking on the Detroit Tigers. Detroit Tigers are currently sitting – where is it? They're at our third in the AL Central. Rockies are sitting second, half game behind San Francisco. That'll probably be they'll probably be tied with San Francisco after tonight's game. But this is a battle of two teams that I don't think anybody saw, really wants to pay attention to. Rockies are in a market on their own, but they're being competitive right now, and I'm really enjoying it. So I'll probably pay a lot more attention to this game than I initially planned on, even though they are my team.
I picked another Toronto game this weekend, although, the other one I was Cleveland, New York. Toronto goes to Houston over the weekend. So that'll be another tough series against a good Houston Astros team.
Another quality matchup for Toronto. Like we said, if Toronto can go 25-15 through these first 2 months for the remaining part of that schedule, they'll be just fine.
Mr. Cole, your second series.
My second series comes down to one of the top, probably the top payroll in all of baseball, the Los Angeles Dodgers at $241.5 million, taking on the San Diego Padres, who are trying to mimic.
Out-Dodger the Dodgers.
Out-Dodger the Dodgers. I don't think you can out-Dodger the Dodgers.
The one thing that, as much as we all hate the Dodgers, the one thing I respect the most about the Dodgers, if they had the highest payroll and they somehow always have a top 10 fucking farm system. Mr. Cole,
yep.
I apologize.
This game's going to be held in San Diego, so San Diego has a home advantage, but Dodgers play fine everywhere. I really look forward to seeing if the Dodgers can chip away at the Dodgers' armor and let the Rockies get a little bit of a lead.
Mine, I kind of hesitated on this because these are two at the moment at least struggling teams. It's a Sunday night baseball game. Milwaukee and Philadelphia. Milwaukee has struggled to do anything this year, and Philadelphia has struggled to pitch this year.
Calling it now, Christian Yelich gets a home run in that game.
He can't be as bad as he was last year, right?
Right.
Mr. Cole, that wraps up this week's show. Any last words before we get out of here?
I underestimated my Rockies to start the season.
You know what? Like I said, if you would have told me the Rockies had a better record starting out with the Dodgers.
Right.
The Rockies started out with the Dodgers, the Rangers, and the Cubs. The Braves started out with the Reds, the Nationals, and they played somebody the Reds, the Nationals, and now the Padres, and somehow we were just barely cracking 500.
I mean, hey, CJ Cron just hit a home run in the bottom of the seventh for the Rockies, and they're up 9-5 right now. So
9-5, so they've scored. So I'm gonna have to turn that game off. We're gonna have to watch.
I'm gonna enjoy it, but unfortunately, I am gonna switch over to hockey because my Colorado Avalanche are taking on the first place Carolina Hurricanes right now. It is currently 5-3 in the second period. I got to go back and watch it from the beginning because I like to watch the goals.
Heard that. Well, make sure you follow Mr. Cole on Twitter at AbsCole. Come follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Between Innings. Myself, Caleb Davis, MLB on Twitter. Thank you, guys, and y'all have a great week. Ballin'.